On June 28th of 1968, a police raid at Stonewall Inn led to a full-out protest, later being recognized as the thrust for the LGBT rights movement. The protests were also led and started by transgender women. This is known as a liberal event because it was the first notable stance the LGBT community was able to make against discrimination in the U.S. On December 15th of 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from its list of mental disorders in a vote of 5,845 to 3,810. This is known as a liberal event because it is a step in progression towards normalizing homosexuality. On October 11th of 1987, a march on Washington, D.C. took place where about 500,000 gay men and lesbian women protested for freedom from discrimination. This march was one of the many activities to honor victims of AIDS and allow lesbian and gay couples to exchange marriage vows. This is known as a liberal event because it was an important step to strengthening the bonds between the community. On November 30th of 1993, President Bill Clinton signs the military policy Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This prohibited openly gay and lesbian Americans from serving in the military, but also prohibited the harassment of closeted homosexuals. This is known as a conservative event because it was a discrimination against homosexuals and their rights as American citizens. It also encouraged homosexuals to not reveal their identities as well as provoke internalized homophobia in many individuals. On September 20th of 2011, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy is repealed, allowing gay men and lesbian women to openly serve in the military. This is known as a liberal event because homosexuals are given their rights to serve in the military and be more open of their sexuality. On June 26th of 2015, gay marriage is legalized in all 50 states. All bans on same-sex marriage were struck down nationwide and required states to honor out-of-state same-sex marriage licenses. The ruling was enacted in a vote of 5-4. This is known as a liberal event because homosexuals are given their freedom to marry legally. On June 30th of 2016, the Pentagon announces its lifting on the ban of transgender citizens serving in the U.S. military. This is known as a liberal event because transgender citizens are given their rights to serve in the military. On November 7th of 2017, Virginia voters elect the state's first openly transgender candidate, Danica Roem, to the Virginia House of Delegates, unseating the transphobic delegate Bob Marshall. She is also the first openly transgender candidate elected to a state legislature. This is known as a liberal event because it was a major step for the transgender community and a change in socialistic views. This means that this was also another step to normalization of LGBT citizens being involved in the society. The events within the LGBT community over the course of 50 years have proven to be a more liberal uptake due to the abundance of civil rights changes and laws being enacted, along with the normalization of the community across different platforms, be it in the military, government, or our society in general.
The fight for women's rights has been occurring for many centuries now, and that journey isn't coming towards an end anytime soon. Starting towards the beginning of the fight for women's rights to vote was in 1777 when all states passed the law to take away women's rights to vote, which is a very conservative viewpoint since that takes away women's say in the government and the actions that get sent. Continuing to 1839 to when at the Seneca Falls in New York, 300 women and men signed the Declaration of Sentiments, which was a plea for the end of discrimination against women. Some progress was made and granted when in 1869, Arabella Mansfield was granted admission to practice law in Iowa, making her the first female lawyer. Ada H. Kempley soon followed and became the first female in the U.S. to graduate from law school. The fight for women's rights has a lot of liberal actions, like Victoria Clawson Woodhull, who became the first female presidential candidate in 1872 when she was nominated by the National Radical Reformers. There was some conservative setbacks too in this fight, like in 1872 when Susan B. Anthony got arrested for voting illegally, which at the time it was illegal for women to vote in any political election. It wasn't until 1890 when Wyoming was the first state to grant women the right to vote in all elections. The fight for women to have their own body rights was a long fight too, and we are still fighting for that today. In 1919, Margaret Sanger wins her case in New York to allow doctors to advise their married patients about birth control for health purposes, moving the fight for women more liberal since they were giving women the chance to make a decision for themselves about their own bodies that didn't involve their husbands. In 1973, women finally won the fight to make their own choice about abortions in the case Roe v. Wade. In 1981, women really made an impact on government positions when Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court, inspiring everyone that women can do or become anything that they wanted to be, and also beat out men too. And that same year, Lady Diane Spencer, or more commonly known as Princess Diana, breaks from tradition when she deletes the vow to obey her husband when she marries Prince Charles. Breaking from that long-running tradition made Princess Diana's brave move on a liberal action towards women gaining freedom as individuals. In 1984, women kept gaining political positions as Geraldine Ferraro became the first woman to be nominated to be vice president on a major party ticket. Then in 2012, the Paycheck Fairness Act was instated that was meant to fight gender discrimination in the workplace but failed in the Senate on a party line vote. 2 years later, Republicans filibustered the bill twice, making it clear that their proposal is a liberal act, since the conservatives were very against it. In 2013, women made headway in the military when the ban against women fighting in military combat positions was removed, which overturned the 1994 Pentagon decision. The most recent success in the fight for women's rights was Hillary Clinton securing the Democratic presidential nomination, which made her become the first woman to lead the ticket of a major party. Today for the fight for women, its rights and equality is still going strong, and it has made some progress, but there is still a lot more fighting to do, so women can get equal pay between men and not be discriminated towards. An issue that we face every day at school is the dress code, which is an example of women being diminished because they are the ones who are being forced to change, while if a boy is wearing something that is revealing or not appropriate, then he is praised, not punished. Women are still not equal to men to this day, but the fight isn't going to be over anytime soon. With that comes more liberal motives behind it. The women's fight for equality has always been more towards the liberal side and not conservative, because women have always wanted equality and equal between men, and that's not in the tradition that the country was built upon.
Religion has evolved in the U.S. from being mostly Protestant to now having over 300 different religions, but religion and religious freedom have been an issue in the U.S. for a long time. In 1962, the court case Engel v. Vitale took place, which proclaimed that it is unconstitutional to have school prayers. This is seen as liberal because it followed the separation of the state and the church, which is a liberal viewpoint. In 1963, the court case Abington School District v. Shempt took place due to controversy about whether or not Bible readings in school violate religious freedom of students that are supposedly protected under the First and the 14th Amendment. This is seen as liberal because they were trying to separate the church from the state by prohibiting a Pennsylvania law that required children to participate in Bible readings during school. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This law is seen as liberal because many liberals believe in equal opportunity and equality for all. In 1993, the government passed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. This act guarantees the protection of individuals' religion. The law, however, was ruled as unconstitutional and therefore could not be applied to the states. This act is seen as liberal because a liberal idea is religious freedom and no discrimination because of one's religion. However, the act has raised controversy because since states did not adopt the RFRA, some states are trying to create a new version of the RFRA that will allow discrimination of same-sex couples. The reasoning behind this is due to the fact that many Christians are against same-sex marriage, and with religious freedom, they should be allowed to refuse service to people who go against their values. In 2017, Trump passed Executive Order 13769, or the Muslim ban. This order banned immigration from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. This is seen as conservative because it is not following liberal guidelines of religious freedom. This is proven because the ban is put on Muslim countries, and Trump stated that priority will be given to religious minority groups such as Christians in Syria.